Hello everybody, and welcome back to Boss Battles of Wraeclast, the somewhat comprehensive guide to the various bosses in Path of Exile 2. In today's episode we are taking on the King in the Mist, who can be located within Freythorn, and Freythorn is a quite difficult to find area in the hunting grounds. You kind of have to search every corner on the edge of the map in order to find this boss, or to find this zone, but once you get there you have to clear out 3 of these ritual altars, and then you'll find this kind of really big circular platform with another ritual altar in the center of it, and that is where you start the boss. Be aware that if you approach this big circular room and the ritual altar before clearing the first 3, it will be surrounded by kind of a red tornado and you won't be able to activate the boss until you've cleared the other 3. Anyway, without further ado, here is the King in the Mist. Okay, when you get to the arena, there will be some enemies here that you'll need to kill, and then when you activate the ritual altar, that's when the boss fight will start. The first stage, you will have to take on some standard ritual enemies, like you did with the other ritual altars in this zone, so just take those guys out, and after you've killed them all, the boss himself will spawn. Now the boss does have 2 separate phases. He has his human form and then he has his tree form, or his treant form. And he does gain full health when he switches forms as well, and he does get new abilities too. Throughout his first phase he has a variety of different attacks. The main attack he will use is this purple bolt of energy that he throws at your character. It's very slow moving and easy to avoid, but sometimes when it hits you it can afflict you with Wither, which is a increased chaos damage over time debuff, so try and avoid hitting that or being hit by that. Just sidestep it, it's really easy to avoid. As you can tell, it's very slow moving. He will also have these 2 separate pools that he will spawn on the ground, the first of which is a red pool. It's kind of like a pool of blood that's boiling, which deals damage over time if you're stood within it. The second one is kind of this purple slow-moving pool. If you zoom in, it kind of looks a bit like a plague of toads. That one also deals a small amount of chaos damage over time, and it just kind of moves to the edge of the arena and then despawns. Again, with both of those pools, just don't stand in them. If you stood in them for a couple of seconds, it's not the end of the world, you're not going to die instantly, but it does deal damage over time, so the longer you stand in those pools, the more damage you'll take. And again, throughout this first phase, you will summon these effigies and totems. Now these are really easy to kill. You can take them down in one hit, but the longer they are active, the more debuffs they'll put on you, and it's mostly just taking increased damage. So you'll either take increased chaos damage over time, or just increased chaos damage in general. So again, just make sure you take out those effigies and totems as soon as you see them. They die in one hit, and you can use any spell or attack you want. As you can see, I just took both of those out there. Really easy to do. He will also have these 2 different debuffs that he will apply to your character. You have a red one and a purple one. As you can see there, I have Ritual of Meditation, which means that if I keep moving with this debuff on my character, I will eventually become imprisoned, and then I will also get afflicted by Maim afterwards as well, which is a 30% movement speed debuff on your character. The purple one is the opposite, so you have to keep moving with the purple one. I believe that's called Ritual of Dancing. We'll see that one later on. There's the purple debuff there. Ritual of Dance, there we go. So again, with this one you just have to keep moving. Both of these debuffs last for 8 seconds, so you have to either keep moving for 8 seconds or stop moving for 8 seconds. But with this boss fight it can be quite a pain in the backside, because sometimes he will summon spells or things at your feet with the one that you can't move. So yeah, it can be a bit problematic sometimes, so make sure you've got a decent health flask and that you've put some decent modifiers on it. As you can see there, he summoned his big purple energy ball as I had to stand still, so that wasn't great timing. There were 2 other abilities from Phase 1 which I didn't mention. He has 2 different Thorn attacks. I believe he will still use those in Phase 2 as well. The first one is this kind of conal Thorn attack he will just throw at your character. It's kind of this big cone of purple thorns. Sometimes you can't avoid it, he'll just throw it at you, and sometimes you'll just get caught by it. It doesn't deal a huge amount of damage, but it is chaos and fizz, so again, make sure you're trying to avoid being hit by that. Dodge rolling and strafing should work. And then his second Thorn attack in Phase 1 and 2 is this AoE kind of Ice Nova effect, but it's like a Thorn Nova. So you'll see him glow bright red, you'll see the standard heavy attack indicator and the sound effect that you get for it. He will then raise his staff and charge it. It'll kind of charge with purple energy and then slam it into the ground. After that happens, you'll see this big ring of spikes, or this big ring of thorns. You can see it on the ground there. That will last for a few seconds, but it only deals damage once. as soon as you see him glow bright red, I just keep moving away from him, just to try and avoid being hit by that ring. It can slow you as well, I believe. I believe it does chill as well. Now, on to Phase 2. He does gain a couple of new attacks in Phase 2. One of which is that attack right there. You just saw him. It's another heavy attack. He will hold his staff up in the air and start charging this big ball of purple energy in front of him. After a few seconds of charging that ball of energy, it will start moving towards your character, or where your character is stood. As soon as it starts moving, you need to start moving with your character. Because if you stand still whilst that ball of energy is moving towards you, it will deal quite heavy chaos damage, and it will also leave these purple bubbles on the ground which explode for chaos damage if you stand in them. You will have seen earlier in the fight that I had the stop moving debuff, and he summoned that energy ball at my feet, and I also got hit by the bubbles which dealt quite a lot of damage to me. So yeah, as soon as the ball starts moving, you need to start moving. Dodge roll away, step away, start moving away from it, don't get hit by them, and try and avoid the purple bubbles as well. He will also be using all of the spells and attacks you saw throughout Phase 1, so yeah, it can be a bit of a tricky one in Phase 2, because there's a lot of different things you need to avoid, and he can combo you quite well if he, say, puts the debuff on you that you need to stop moving, and then he summons a big ball of energy which you have to avoid. Now, one thing to be aware of with the two debuffs, you can move for a couple of seconds before the imprisonment happens, so before you get trapped in the spikes. So if you're stood in something and he puts that debuff on you, you can still move away and not get hit by it. When you've killed the boss, you will get an item which gives you increased spirit. It gives you 30 spirit, and you will get an uncut level 4 spirit gem as well, so you can pick your first spirit using ability, and then you can also activate the ritual altar in the center of the room to purchase any of the items in there for the tribute you've gained from completing the boss. And then you'll also be able to summon Finn, who is the NPC from Clearfell Encampment who sent you here in the first place and gave you the quest. I believe he used to live in this area, and he wanted you to come here and clear out the corruption. Okay, so that was the King in the Mists. Quite a difficult boss fight with a lot of different mechanics, and you certainly have to learn how to use a priority system with his mechanics in order to avoid them properly and to not get one-shot by his varying different combos. But it's not too difficult. Just remember to not stand in any of the pools, take down the effigies as soon as they spawn, and then for purple debuff, keep moving, red debuff, stop moving. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching, and shall catch you in the next episode.